Morning, everybody. How are you all doing? We've got a new setup today. I'm on the side look. Weird, isn't it? How are we doing? Where am I? Everything's in different places now. Morning, Mumo. Morning, Mark. Morning, Evil. Morning, Paul. How are we all doing? Danny, Virginia. How are we doing? So, it's Friday. We have had quite a bit of news this week, which we will go through in a minute. But markets just opened. Quite a big move up on the FTSE. Terrible day yesterday. Awful. Absolute whipsaw yesterday afternoon. So the yesterday's FTSE absolutely collapsed. Couldn't do anything with that yesterday. Where are we? So it just that's the open basically, and obviously this is why we have this maximum limit in the opening range breakout strategy. So when you get this type of movement at the open, there's no volume left for the market to use to drive the rest of the day's movement. So you just basically base around for the rest of the day. This is very typical when you get a move of more than 40%. I think this was more like 70, 80% of ADR literally in a day, in a 5-minute candle. It was awful. Great if you're on the pre-market. Yeah, it moved 400 and about 500. So it's about half an ADR basically in one candle. So we got quite a similar move going on today in the opposite direction. Not quite as big yet, but that's on the verge of not being able to get on today as well. We're already sitting at 3,000, 20%, 40% of ADR is 3.3. So that's close as well for no trade today. But yeah, the DAX obviously was shut yesterday because it was a holiday in Europe. But the NASDAQ, the Dow and the S&P yesterday, it just whipsawed. Literally, we opened, it whipsawed and it whipsawed and it whipsawed. And then it finally broke out. I was on the S&P for that breakout. And then it just literally A-shaped recovery straight back to where we started and flip-flopped for the entire day. You can't do anything with this type of market. It's absolutely diabolical at the moment. So it's just an absolute sideways mess. There you go. There's the break I got. Look, there. 2 stop outs, then a break. Straight up. Break even. And it just didn't go anywhere. Awful. Absolutely awful market. I don't know what's going on with it at the minute. I don't know. They are just not interested, are they, at the minute? The banks are just sitting sideways waiting for Trump to decide what the hell is going to happen next. So we'll see where we go today. Hopefully we'll get a better session today. So definitely going to get a break. There we go. On both of those today. So we'll see if we can get some momentum today. Get some money back. Right. So update. I got the video done. Yesterday, I got the video done for the new ORB version. That didn't trigger me. Almost got short on the FTSE, the DAX then. So yeah, I got the video done yesterday. It's all finished, all uploaded onto YouTube. So all I've got to do is update the manual today and put the licensing code into the new version, and that'll be out today. So if you want the new version of ORB 3.1, ready to go. So it'll take me a few hours to get everything done, but I will get that done today. So finally managed to get that video done. I did the whole thing in one take yesterday. It's an hour long. Very proud of it. Stuck it in the editing tool, and the microphone kept cutting out constantly. So I had to re-record the whole thing again. Happy days. Anyway, so just watching this DAX. Morning, Peter. Almost got a break on that. We've got a bit of divergence going on at the moment. The DAX is trying to push short. The FTSE is trying to push long. Going very hard, but not getting anywhere. There we go. DAX looks like it's going to break. Nope. Wow. It's just so erratic, isn't it? This market is just so all over the place. Everything is. FX is the whole lot. It's just Absolute confusion. Anyway, it's almost as if it knows my pending orders there. Nope, not letting him in. Very big upside rejection, though, on both of them. So it does look like it wants to go bear today. If we just have a quick look at where we are, we've got a gap fill opportunity at the moment on the DAX to the downside. Obviously, this is Wednesday, because obviously there's no trading yesterday. So we have got a gap up at the moment. So we're opening at gap up. So a downside break, in fact, there's an argument for sticking that a little bit lower down and going for that break to the downside and taking that partial a little bit further down today. But yeah, there's a gap fill in play today. It's really not that far away. So I think they can make that today. If not, we're going to break out into new highs. And the same with the FTSE. We are going to break out into new highs if we go long. So we closed down there yesterday. So this pre-market price action, never convinced by it. So down, there's a good opportunity for shorts on both today, really. That's the high of the day yesterday. So that initial target is probably not a bad spot to take. But we'll see where we go. At the moment, we are painting an inside bar on both. So there's indecision after the open. So initial flurry of orders is coming, but there's absolutely no directional bias yet. Right, we'll come back to that in a minute. Morning, Chris. New angle of the camera. I like it. But when you bump the table, the camera is shaking. I know. It's really annoying. It happened in the video yesterday. I can't do much about that. So I'll try not to bang the table too much. Sitting on a bit of a shaky monitor, that's probably why. Right, FX-wise. We'll go through the ADRs and everything in a minute. Let's just quickly do the news first while we're waiting. Japan negotiators firmly opposed to US proposal. Tariffs. Australian retail sales came out this morning. So news-wise today, obviously, yeah, we'll recap on yesterday's news as well. But yeah, today is obviously non-farm payroll day. So typically, non-farm payroll is range-bound in the morning. There's absolutely no point usually, I say usually because this is a different non-farm payroll with these tariffs, but usually we sit sideways for the morning and the market waits for some kind of directional move during the unemployment rate release. There's no point in driving a load of volume into any dollar transactions until you know whether or not there's going to be a big bias long or short coming on the dollar in the afternoon. So we tend to go sideways and it's nice range-bound action in the morning and then we move in the afternoon. However, I don't know if the unemployment rate is paying as much weight to movement and direction at the moment because obviously it's all about tariffs still. So it's obvious people are going to get more unemployed. Unemployment rate is going up in the US. It has to because businesses are being strangled and the first thing to go is staff. So that's going to go up. We know that. So I don't know really whether the market's going to pay much attention to it, but we'll find out. There will be a lot of whipsaws this afternoon. It will move somewhere. It may be explosive. It may just whipsaw within an hour and be back to where it started. We'll have to just wait and see. But that's obviously the news today. We've got elections in Australia. They can obviously affect monetary opinion, if you like. But we'll wait and see what happens with that. I'm not convinced that will actually do much today. But so that's what we got this afternoon. We had PMIs yesterday and unemployment claims for the US. Unemployment claims went up. Surprise, surprise. We had the Bank of Japan interest rate decision. The Japanese yen went through the floor yesterday. So they kept the interest rate the same, 0.5 as we were expecting. But the market decided to sell the crap out the yen yesterday. So it went through the roof. So I've sold the Swiss yen this morning. We obviously extended yesterday on, actually I sold that yesterday at the end of the day. So we were extended yesterday, dropped down M5, took a reversal alert on the 5-minute No, I didn't. Sorry. I was going to take a reversal alert on the 5 minute yesterday. There's my entry look. But it was so far away. I would have been asleep by the time it triggered in, and I didn't want to let the EA do it. So, because it was possible we might get a nasty spread in the morning. So I decided to just hit the button because we had that nice 15, 20 minutes worth of bear action yesterday. So if that had been a down candle, that would have been a reversal alert. So, but it's just the price action didn't really work yesterday. So yeah, I got in yesterday on the Swiss yen short. This is really, really extended. So this was a 175 ADR move yesterday. Huge move against the yen. All the yen pairs were extended. So the Swiss yen, obviously Aussie yen, it's all the same basically. We didn't quite get as much movement on some of them, but the euro and the Swiss were the two biggest movers yesterday. Swiss yen is on my main trading list. So I'm looking for a pullback back down, potentially into there, but I'll be watching this accumulation break here as well. So this is where we paused yesterday and then they continued to add. And as you can see, we retested that here and pushed back up again. So potentially that has already been tested. If we get back to it, there's a good chance that they might rebuy that level. If they do, that propulsion gap here, 5 minute, that's where they started that move. So this is kind of the area you'd look for buyers potentially. So, you know, if you're short and you want to be super, super risk averse at the moment, when we get down to here, cover it. And then if it does continue that way, doesn't matter, does it? But if it does break that, we're going to be turning all the way back down into here, 150 ADR. So it's a 175 ADR push, 61.8 retracement, 150, 671.9 retracement, 150 ADR back down to the opposite direction, potentially. So there's no other ADRs today. You've got all these weeklies here. Obviously, all the weeklies have got something in common. It's the yen. The yen is the main thing that's moved this week. So those are all the yen pairs. All of them have exceeded their weekly ranges or hit their weekly ranges. So they're all really good weekly range reversals as well after yesterday's move. So the signal confluence there, massive ADR day, weekly ranges hit, all worth taking. Aussie New Zealand also is a weekly range hit. That hasn't stopped. So there's that big rally up. I scaled into this earlier on in the week. Second entry's in. Third entry's not ready yet. It's not gone far enough. We're coming out of this lovely propulsion move as well. So this is the area I said about here as potentially where we would stall out. I covered this on Wednesday. Yeah, so that initial breakdown that we had, and then that double bottom, we pushed back up again. They resold that propulsion move. So we hit it again on Wednesday. We resold it. So I took another position. And then we've hit it again today. We've now filled that propulsion gap and we're accumulating. So either they will run out of bull power here and bears will take over and continue market structure short. It's a bit of a weird market structure because it's tariff based, but or that's going to break. And if that breaks, we're going to be heading up to that monthly level, weekly level here. So we got roughly 200 ADR, which will be another 1/2 positions on that. So I'd be 4 short looking to get out on that pullback. Yeah, so that'll be kind of like that. Look for a retracement on there. The other ones you've got extended on the weeklies are the pound odd. That's the only other one, I think. And the pound New Zealand. So pound odd, pound New Zealand, pretty much the same thing. So you can see the pound odd here. That is kind of the weekly range. It's not a really good weekly range extension, is it? So it did the whole lot kind of in 24 hours, but it's not unusual. This is just stuck range bound at the moment. Totally basic range bound. No direction. Buy it here. Yeah, it's just a logical buy, isn't it? Right now. Yeah, it's just going up there again. It will break at some point, and it'd be sod's law. This will be the one. But until it does, it's range bound. There is no directional bias on it at all. Nothing's changing news-wise at all. So, yeah, it's a lovely little long opportunity there. Pound New Zealand, pretty much the same thing. We did break out long. I got out of the Pound New Zealand yesterday. I posted that in the Discord group. So that short there exited in propulsion. That was that previous resistance here. We pushed up into there and we broke back down, tested that. So out of that, it is still coming down again. So it's probably going to be that reversal alert here and retest of propulsion. That will probably come back down and retest that area, will bounce out. So market structure is just forming short. No idea which way anything's going. No one has. It's just going up and down as it usually does. But at the moment, we are cautious, aren't we? At the moment, market waiting for Trump to say something. So at the minute, that looks short, but could well bounce out somewhere around ADR today, put in a new lower low. Who knows? It's attempted to go long and it's failed. So logically, when you get a failed breakout to the upside, it tests the downside. So we'll see. So there you go. There was all of your weekly ranges. RSIs, everything yen is extended. It's pretty much everything we've just looked at is the same. So Aussie dollar New Zealand is still extended on the 4 hour to the upside. I'm still short. That is lovely divergence. Look, if you want a double divergence lesson, yeah, high, low, lower high rather, high, higher high, high, higher high, high, lower high, double divergence. Hugely bearish in a propulsion gap that has already been retested twice and they've sold at. Wicks to the upside on the last 3-4 hour candles. Doesn't get any more bearish than that. So Aussie New Zealand, that's extended on the 4. All the yen pairs are extended, as you can see. So everything else you see there is all yen. So it's after this big push we had yesterday. Take your pick. They're all 4 hour RSI extensions on RSI 10. You'll find they're probably all 4 hour. They're extended on RSI 14 as well. If you're still using 14, doesn't matter which you use. It's just different, but they'll all be extended. So big, strong push to the upside. Aussie dollar yen coming beautifully into triple support there, which we broke through, turned into resistance, straight back down. Propulsion, this is where the sellers are, or were, if they're still there. That's where we're going to bounce from. We already had a reversal out on that on 5 minute this morning. Euro yen is also extended on the hourly. So all of these are basically the same, but we've got an hourly extension there on that one. This is a lovely, huge propulsion gap, targets to the downside. Look, so obviously we've broken out into new monthly highs now. You've got this high from last week and the previous week's highs, and that's the 3-week high. So this whole area here, which is where that propulsion gap break started, is potentially a good downside target, which is roughly a 50% retracement on the leg that we've put in over the last 24 hours. You've got the flag break here as a potential bounce point as well. So either that or that are your continuation pullback points. If it's not going to continue and the breakout fails, obviously it's just going to A-shaped recovery and we're back down here. So one of those three things is likely to happen. It could accumulate and break today. So non-farm payroll this afternoon, they could use that to continue this yen sell-off. So there was nothing I could see yesterday in the news that was particularly bearish. Unemployment's just gone up in Japan, which typically they will increase interest rates for, which is bullish. But there was nothing in the press conference yesterday to do with the Japanese yen that looked particularly negative. So I'm not quite sure why they sold off quite so hard on it, but they did. Any country or person who buys any amount of oil or petrochemicals from Iran will be subject to immediately secondary sanctions. All purchases of Iranian oil must stop now. Sod off. What's it got to do with you? We'll buy where we like, from where we like. We're not buying it from you anymore because you're an idiot. I think he is. Right, the world, you must stop all of this. Piss off. Sorry, Trump supporters. But oh, that's good. Look, break short, immediately rejected. This is just the worst market I have seen forever. Terrible. Look at it. Can't do anything with this at the moment. It's just shocking. It will get better, but look at this rejection. Like, right, we're not going long, definitely. Nope, we're not going short, definitely. Right, well, what are we doing then? Make your mind up. Morning, Ismet. Are you still position trading limited pairs? Sort of. So this is my core pair list at the moment, which I've got the EA running on. So this is what I'm trying to focus on. Aussie New Zealand, Aussie US, Swiss yen, Euro Swiss, Euro pound, Euro CAD, and pound US dollar. However, if I see something good, I'll take it. But that pair list there, those are 7 core pairs basically. Those give me complete exposure across commodities, dollar, euro, pound, and safe havens. So, and they are all uncorrelated. So the correlation between all of those instruments is sub 60%, which means that I'm not going to go into huge drawdown at the same time on all of them because they are uncorrelated. So some of them have got slight negative correlation, which means if one takes off in one direction, the other one will take off opposite. So, but not more than 60-65% correlation. So those are the core which you are really safe with at the moment. But I took a pound New Zealand. There, look. Yeah, so I shorted pound New Zealand. So if I see something, good, like I've just taken a Swiss yen, which is on my list, but any of those yens are good. But the reason I'm on the Swiss yen is because of swaps. So the only reason really for this one is it's less volatile for safe haven runs because the Swiss and the yen are both safe havens. So they both push together. So if we get a really strong safe haven run on tariffs, war, anything that the markets get scared by, these both push together, which means that this doesn't go parabolic as much. And it's good exposure for the yen. Yeah. So this is basically my yen pair. And it's the one that moves the least when the yen is getting either hammered or smashed to pieces and blowing everything out the water. So it's the safest yen basically to trade, cheapest yen to trade as well. But, I'm not adverse to trading anything at the moment. I'm just, there's nothing you can do with any of this at the minute. I'm not going to position trade a range. Yeah, you do not position trade ranges. That's just not what position trading is. If you want to trade ranges, use a stop loss because if you're right, you're going to be right down to there, aren't you? So it's a very simple equation. You put a risk on of X and you're going to get Y, and Y will always be 3 or 4 times at least what X was. Easy. But position trading is about trading momentum, trading exhaustion. It's not exhausted. It's just not going anywhere. You can't trade that. So if there's something I see where there's a big enough range that a pullback of 50% or so is worth it, i.e. you get an ADR's worth of movement out of it, then it's worth doing. But I'm targeting an ADR of movement. So I want to keep my risk so small at the moment because this is such a dangerous market. We've seen what Trump is able to do, and he's able to do this again, and he's able to do it in the opposite direction. I don't want to get caught overexposed on anything that Trump says. So I've got other strategies I'm trading. ORB, obviously, I'm trading breakouts at the moment. Again, the breakout strategy is not doing much. It's not getting many entries at the moment because we're not breaking out of anything. It's just rubbish. I almost feel at the moment like you're kind of in this weird bubble where we haven't been before. You can't backtest any of this. You can't forecast any of this because it's just a different world now. As the Europeans came out and said it best, I think. With their we're not really interested stance. America has shot itself massively in the foot. You are not the world's currency anymore. You are not who we need to trade with anymore. The guys over there that you're having a fight with are bigger than you. Why would we come to you? Yeah. Yes, we're going to be more of a number than a name with the Chinese, but at the end of the day, we don't care. Everybody's struggling financially at the moment worldwide. So if they're giving us the cheapest deals, that's where we're going. It's a completely new world order of trade, and these financial markets operate on economics, which is trade. So everything is moving different. So you just got to keep your risk and exposure low for the moment and try and get squeeze as much as you can out of it, basically, because it's not normal at all. You get these days every now and again, but look at this. Look at the wicks on this thing today. I mean, it's just untradeable. Yeah. Nobody that is putting the trouble with wicks this big is if you're going to use these as limits for stops, everything is so vast. The reward is going to take you all day because the risk is so massive. So either that or you put a small stop on of X number of pips, but you're going to get stopped out on all the wicks. This is just not a normal market on any time frame. Some of the basing moves that we're seeing on FX at the moment are just unbelievable. Weeks of just nothing. So just a horrible, horrible market. There you go. Look, so I had a short there on the pound US dollar. That was a range bound play, but I could get an ADR out of it. Took 2 days, but I got an ADR out of it. Yeah. So I've got a buy on here. But, I'm scared of this because, this is, look at history. What does history tell us? Propulsion gaps get filled. Yeah. It's a whacking great target down there, isn't there? 300 ADR away. So that's a scaling of 4 positions. That could take a week to get there and a week to get back out. So really low risk. Let me just catch up on the chat. I should put the chat over here now, shouldn't I? Should put chat here now. Makes more sense. Morning. Tried a pre-market breakout this morning. Worked well, but but targets need to be pretty tight. Maybe just for a short while till we get back to normal. Yeah. What's normal though, Don? This is the question. Pre-market. I mean, we saw from the DAX, from the FTSE yesterday, pre-market is extremely good. When you get, it's part of the video actually. So in the new video that I've got for the new version of the EA, I actually cover the pre-market break in a little bit of, not in too much detail, but in a little bit of an explanation. That pre-market range, when you get that clean 5-minute candle that closes strong, that is often the high or the low of the day. So when the market's gone, if it pulls back and continues, you're not getting back here. So those pre-market range breaks can give you huge, like 7, 10R, very, very easily rewards. And we saw that from the FTSE yesterday. If you'd got on that yesterday, which I didn't, but if, I'm not taking any pre-markets at the moment, but look at the pre-market there. The thing is that's difficult with this is what are your rules for a pre-market range? Do you just say, just take whatever, look at the 5, the 10, the 15, the 30 minute, whatever it is. You've really got to kind of all eyeball it on a day-by-day basis. But, that pre-market range there, if you put the risk at the high of whatever it was, I mean, that 5-minute candle would have been your very bare minimum risk, wouldn't it? I mean, the reward is huge. That's 5 minutes. Yeah, that's $3,000 or so there in 5 minutes. Done. It depends what you're risking, obviously, but you're easily going to get a 6 or 7 out of it. And if you look at it, yeah, that was the high of the day. Yeah, never got back there. And it won't usually. If it breaks really strong at the open, unless there is a complete rejection, sometimes when there's a gap fill opportunity, obviously, then it will just fill the gap and it will bounce back. But often, if it is going to go into a trend day, obviously you're not going to get there, are you? So you just hold it for the day. There's a guy called Rennie. I can never say his surname. Bulk, is it Balk? Who has a strategy called long only, basically, and it's just a buy and hold strategy. It's very, very simple, and I think he buys it at 8 or 9 or whatever in the morning and just holds it. So his strategy basically is go long only. So it wouldn't have worked in this case, obviously. It would have been a massive fail. But it's long only because it's indices. And he buys it there and he sells it at the end of the day. Because the edge in indices is that they go long more than short. There is a proven edge in that. But when you're in a bear market, it will blow your account. Yeah, so you can't, rocking the table again, aren't I? So you can't use it in a bear market. Which worries me slightly because obviously we are going into a bear market by the looks of things at the moment. So, but then you would flip it. If you think we're in a bear market, you just make it short only and you just literally sell it there and you let it go. So the risk you have, you kind of need to look at ADR and say, right, well, I am going to make my risk X% over one ADR. And I'm going to assume that when I sell it today, if it's wrong, I will probably lose roughly one ADR. Occasionally, you're going to get those stupid 200, 300 ADR days where you're going to take 3% loss or 2% loss. Let's say we're risking 1%. But the days where we win in a bull or a bear market are going to be more than the days that we lose. But the rewards could be tiny. It could be a quarter of an ADR, half an ADR, and then you take a 2 ADR loss. So the edge does play out very long term, but it will have lots of short term down moves. And that's very similar, I think, to the pre-market breakout. When I tested the pre-market breakout with the original ORB strategy, it was really good long term, but it was frustrating to trade because that first 5-minute candle more often than not is a whippy candle like this. Yeah. So you actually get stopped out way more. But when you get them, you get paid absolute fortunes. But you can't predict the future, can you? So it's one of those strategies. I mean, it's a great strategy. Look at this price action. It's a great strategy. I'm going to do some more testing with it as well. So keep you updated on that. Needs a bit more analysis done. Morning, Marco. Do you still use ADR3 for ORB? Yeah, at the moment, I am. ADR3. So I don't think if you look at the indices at the moment, the last 3 days worth of price action on the DAX. Let's not use the DAX because just had that's the Dow. Sorry, I'm going to use that. So there's the last day. We had that big news day, another normal day. But look at the normal days at the moment are just horrible, aren't they? If you go back over 10 days at the moment, so this is 1, 2, 3. There we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So look at the size of these days here. And then look at the size of these days. You've got one outlier in there, but the rest of them are pretty stable. So if you're taking the last 3 days, you're going to get a rough approximation of what we're doing right now. If you take the last 10 days, you're taking some of this into account still. I don't know what's right or wrong at the moment because the markets are totally erratic. These moves are being caused by news events or announcements, and you just don't know when they're coming. So if you assume that there's going to be nothing dramatic said, you're probably going to be more right than wrong, I think, at the moment. When something dramatic is said, you're either going to be on the right or the wrong side of it. If you're on the right side of it, you're going to make a lot of money. If you're on the wrong side of it, you're going to stop out. So I don't think it really matters which ADR you use at the moment, but you will get more entries, I think, by using a low ADR than a big ADR. Because if you have these tight contracted opens and you're taking this price action into account, it's going to need much more opening movement, which the last 2 days have obviously been very big, but that's not the norm, is it? But this is the trouble. There isn't really a norm. That is the most horrible price action I think I've ever seen. Look at it. Look at the size of these wicks. And these tiny little bodies in the middle. Nasty. Yeah. Morning, everybody else. I haven't said hello to. What's the idea of what's this idea? That's his idea of a free market. You are free to buy from us or else. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Doing. My ADR 10 didn't trigger orders on the DAX today. Good job, Vitaly. Stay with ADR 10 then. This is the thing, isn't it? Is it better to use ADR 10 or is it better to use ADR 3? If it breaks in your direction, it was better to use the ADR that allowed that break to happen. We don't know which one, do we? Morning, Elevated. Rajiv, morning. On Axie, the swaps on the Swiss yen are the opposite from Robo Forex. Really? How can they be so different? I get minus 168 long and 1383 short. Okay. Pass. That's a weird one. Don't forget, it was bank holiday most of Europe yesterday, so maybe people took Friday off for a long weekend. Yeah, but it's banks. Businesses don't take it off. So, you know, they triggered long on the DAX. Still no movement on the FTSE. I haven't triggered a trade on that yet. So long on the DAX. We'll see. Look at it. Awful. Spider legs, isn't it? Yeah, so, I mean, typically the day after a bank holiday, you get quite a lot of movement because you've got 2 days worth of orders stacked up. So, you know, there's still stock purchasing happening worldwide and stock sector purchasing more often happening worldwide on Thursday. Just because they were shut doesn't mean that the people that were purchasing stock sectors in the motor industry didn't want to buy a load of DAX stock. So Friday morning, as soon as the opening bell goes, those orders from yesterday and today get executed. So you usually see more coming through. That might explain this price action. It's just algorithmic large volumes of orders going in. Don't know, but I mean, it's awful, isn't it? Don't really want to look at it. Whatever happens in the future, guys, just remember I am the first homeless guy. What? Who beat the casino using lottery correlation to double check my theory. Okay, Mr. Spam. Goodbye. Let me just see where it is. Hang on. Hide user. Bye-bye. First homeless guy. You haven't got a computer. Anyway, right. So that's pretty much all I've got this morning. There's not a lot really happening anywhere. So my current exposure at the minute is there. So I've got pound US dollar longs, euro pound longs, euro CAD longs, short Swiss yen, short Aussie US, short Aussie New Zealand. So Aussie New Zealand is the main, it's not an issue. It's just the main thing that's not really going anywhere yet. It's just grinding away at the moment. So this propulsion gap, if we break the high of the day, I will be adding again up at around about ADR today if it gets there, with a view to monthly, weekly highs becoming resistance. But it's bearish, obviously, as you can see. So we'll see where we go. But I mean, that's a hell of a bear run. So we might try and get back up to do a big retracement on this, you know, sort of that sort of movement. So might be one that gets stuck in for a little bit on, but we'll see. The swaps short are very, very cheap, $1.70. So I don't really mind holding this. This is one of the other things that I've kind of factored in when I've been looking at the core pairs, if you like, I call them, is the swap costs. Because if anything is going to get squeezy, I want to make sure it's not going to be too expensive. So things like Euro Swiss short, that is still quite expensive to trade. Euro pound costs virtually nothing. Euro CAD is fine. Pound US dollar, fine. So Swiss yen and Euro Swiss. So anything against the Swiss franc is obviously always going to be expensive because of the size of the interest rate differential. Swiss franc is at 0.25%. Going to go down to zero probably. So you're always going to have high cost on that and the yen because the interest rate differentials, which is basically what swap is, because it's a bank loan you're holding on your currency overnight. Thoughts on the US dollar Swiss? I mean, I personally, everything in my body is saying this, but it's the US dollar. I'm finding it, as I said the other day, I'm finding it very difficult to bring myself to short this because I'm a mean reversion trader and I'm looking for this to revert. But I don't want to buy the dollar because Trump has stuffed it. So it's a really difficult thing to trade at the moment, the dollar. We're struggling at the moment. The difficulty you have with this is propulsion gaps. Obviously, we know are where, in this case, sellers are sitting. So we can verify that those sellers are still there at the moment. So I don't want to buy it because they can't get through. If they do get through, they're going to run straight into another batch of sellers. Yeah. So if these guys don't hold, these guys are going to hold. So it's going to getting back up to here. This took 1.5 weeks. That sort of movement typically will take months. So we could sit here and just grind away, but there's not going to be a period where we're not going to have an announcement from Trump on something within the next couple of months, are we? So it could go absolutely anywhere at the moment. But I mean, obviously RSI extensions to the downside on the US dollar at the moment are massively against trend. I don't think you're going to get a move like this again, but we've got another sort of fly in the ointment that was added yesterday by Trump. Now he's signed the deal with Zelensky on Ukraine. They basically now pretty much own Ukraine, don't they? They've got all the Ukraine mineral rights, etc. So it's a 50-50 split and all the money will be reinvested back into Ukraine for 10 years. In 10 years, the US has just basically bought himself another massive country. So they have all those minerals, and in 10 years' time, they can turn around and go, that's all ours. Thank you very much. You're not having any of this anymore. So Putin has basically now got NATO sitting on his front doorstep in multiple places, and now he's got the US sitting on his front doorstep. So the US legitimately now are going to have mining operations operating in Ukraine. If Russia keeps attacking Ukraine, they are attacking the US. If people in the US get killed over in Ukraine, that's going to start World War III. So we've now got this situation where we've got Trump destroying the economics of the planet, and he's just pretty much bought the country next door to his, well, the world's sort of greatest nemesis at the moment. So I don't, this type of movement, which is atypical, kind of like a small black swan, if you like, isn't it? We've got so many more of those potential events bubbling around the world at the moment. Iran, for example, Trump's just turned around and said, you can't buy anything from Iran. What if we suddenly go and buy a load of Iranian oil because we need it? What are they going to do? Cut the UK off? Sanction the UK? Good luck. We're off to China anyway. What's that going to do to the dollar? I can't see any reason for this to pop. So equally, if we get up to here and pull back, I would be interested in that sort of movement. But I do not want to buy this thing at the moment. I don't want to buy anything US dollar, really. And if I am buying it, it's got to be a really good setup, and it's going to be a pretty short-term hold. DAX is off. Stopped out on the FTSE. Bloody hell, look at the state of this thing. So FTSE's long. Playing catch up on yesterday and now catch up on today. So upside target on this. Well, we're out of new highs, aren't we? So where's ADR today? 2,300. So 2,300 is about 80% of ADR. So I'm looking at the next big round number to the upside. Is kind of there. So I'm going for a big run this morning. I need to try and recoup some loss from yesterday and obviously this morning. So I don't really want to take partial too quick today. I'm going to go somewhere around the 29,900. We've got no upside resistance, so it's just a case of see how far we can get. So what I would hope this morning is we can kind of make some progress and sit around for a bit, and then hopefully we get a pop on non-farm payroll to pop the indices. But I mean, it's got to get somewhere yet, isn't it? Diabolical. It really is. I'm holding it with a decent drawdown, but I don't mind it because it pays me. Collected about 500 over the last month on it. Yeah. So if you're long in it, yeah, I mean, you're being paid to long it. So but you know, equally, I'm in the same boat as the rest of the world at the moment. You just have no idea what's going on with anything at the moment. I mean, we've never known. Obviously, no one knows what any candlestick is ever going to do, but you have an idea whether a currency should be strong or weak. The whole thing's been turned on its head now, so you have no idea what economic impact is going to happen at the moment. People can forecast as much as they like, but your forecasts are based on new information that we haven't had before. So, you know, you can say to businesses, what impact is this having on you? They can say, right now, really bad. What's the future impact going to be? I don't know. How poor or rich are people going to be in the future now? Because we're putting all our prices up. So they're probably going to get poorer, which is probably going to be negative for my business. That's all businesses are ever going to say to you. They can't have a positive outlook because all of their costs have gone up. So it's very difficult for analysts in banks and, you know, any kind of institution to gauge future directional bias for currency because they're all different now. So the only things you can be sure of is if something goes wrong, we're going to buy the Swiss and the yen. That's the only thing you really have going for you at the moment. So, you know, that is a good thing to do. Because if something goes wrong with the US, which is probable, they're going to buy the Swiss franc with the US dollar. So the US Swiss is going to go down twice as fast and hard as everything else. And the same with the yen. Yeah, buy the yen. Because if anything goes wrong, we're going to stick a load of money into the yen. But you can't trade hoping and waiting for something bad to happen. We've got to make money constantly. You can't sit there and go, oh, I'll wait for the next main news event to come in. It might not be for 6 weeks. Difficult situation. It's a difficult environment to trade in at the minute. Just quickly looking at news today. So I'm coming on this afternoon at 1:30, not 2:30. So the live room's being moved forward because I'm just going to basically come on and trade non-farm payroll. Well, I'm not going to trade it. I'm going to watch it. And I'll be on at 1:30. So there won't be a 2:30 session today. It'll be 1:30. If this creates... Thanks for the follow. Whoever that was. Helmet Methyl. Welcome aboard. So we're probably going to get a large movement off of non-farm payroll, or rather the unemployment rate. So the US session, when the bell goes today, you usually find the stock market's already done the movement for the day. So the orders will be dumped into the Globex session rather than the opening bell. So at the opening bell, you tend to get sort of that. Sometimes, though, it will just go straight into a trend and undo the non-farm payroll move. So it's quite difficult one to trade. So I would rather, if we've had a decent move in non-farm payroll, not trade the open. So I'm going to come back on at 1:30 and we'll have a look at it. Depending on how long the stream lasts, I might be here for the open anyway. So, but 1:30 this afternoon for the next session. Franco, a lot of pair look like an erratic heartbeat. You should know about that. Nothing but indecision. Range, then squeeze. Yeah. It is. That is basically what we've got at the moment. Which is not conducive, as I say, to position trading, which is why I've been taking a few weeks off of position trading. I think we're going to fall back into a rhythm now a little bit, but I don't think it's the thing. Like I said before, banks and institutions make money on movement. Yeah. So it doesn't matter which way it moves. They will move it where they need to move it or where they can move it, and they will take profit on the moves that they create. As long as banks and institutions need to make money, that is what they will continue to do. So it will continue to push and it will always pull. It will push and it will pull and it will push and it will pull and it will push and it will pull. Yeah. The size and time these things take is the variable I think is going to change now. When you have a fear market, a caution market, you tend to trend longer, squeeze longer. So it's harder to position. Well, it's not harder to position trade. It's just longer to make money. So your moves in longer moves tend to be more protracted and make less money. However, they can also be highly profitable because if you're scaling to multiple positions on every trade, you're going to have more size on when that move works out, which makes you more money. So it's a double-edged sword. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of this type of movement, like bang, sit around for ages, don't know what we're doing. But that's the Trump bit. Yeah, that I think is over. The market has readjusted itself risk-wise, hasn't it? We've kind of gone, whoa. Okay, we need to be a little bit more cautious, and which is what we will be now, more cautious. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. Where is the best place to start learning to code MT4, MT5? I find it really interesting how you started and how I started into it. So I'm a programmer anyway. So I learned, I'm a web developer, was a web developer by trade. So PHP, MySQL, which is a database, but PHP, CSS, HTML, C++, which is basically what MT4, MT5 is based on. So if you learn C++, that gives you the fundamentals for all MT4, MT5 coding. But MT4, MT5 or MQL4, MQL5 are languages based on C++ is code base, but with a lot of differences. So you can either go straight into learning MT4 or MQL4 or MQL5. I would go MQL5 because it's more backward compatible. Or you can learn C++, and then when you start learning MQL5, you'll be like, I get all of this. But either way, learn. Udemy, everywhere else you would learn stuff, wherever you learn stuff, YouTube. But you want to do it organized. There's on the MQL5 website, I think there is there's a code base section here, and a lot of this is pre-written code basically. There's a lot of crap in here as well, but I don't know. I would go to Udemy basically. FX Dreamer doesn't teach you to code. FX Dreamer is incredibly bloated visual coding tool. Morning, Blue Trader. Pontevedra. I like the EAs you've created. I do understand you have been writing for MT for a good few years now. I also like the back testing and live testing you do. No problem. I did Pascal and C. Yeah, I learned on Pascal and C. That's where but so basically at college, I learned basic, the very first language, basic. 10, print hello, 20, go to 10. And from basic, I went on to Pascal, and Pascal, I went on to C. So you're probably the same age as me, pretty much. But morning, have to rewatch a lot again. Yeah, if you just turned up, just finishing. So yeah, just go to, I mean, Udemy is great. If you just, I don't use it myself, but I mean, it's kind of the go-to, isn't it? So MQL5, for example. There you go, algorithmic trading in MQL5, code robots and free up your time. MQL5 beginner. 50 quid. I mean, look at this. This is the beautiful thing about Udemy. If you buy a course and it's crap, you don't lose anything, do you? It's just next to nothing. There's the advanced one, code and exhausted price expert advisor. The thing that I would advise to anybody, which is the real key to programming, is you do not need to learn everything. You need to learn what you need to learn for what you need to do. So if you want to write an EA, for example, that works on tick, and it basically, all it does is it uses an indicator to get a condition, and then you say, when I get a bearish engulfing, I want it to enter a trade, and I want it to enter a trade using inputs that have got risk, stop, blah, 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 blah. That's what you need to learn. You don't need to learn anything else, because you need to learn what you need to do the job you want to do. So there's no point in learning every single command there is in MQL5. I don't know half of MQL5's code base because I've never needed it. News, for example, there's a massive news filtering system already built in. I've never used it because I don't use it. But if I do need it, I'll learn it. So you've got to learn the basics, like what if statements are, what functions are, what helpers are, what loops are, what all this sort of stuff is. You've got to learn the basics. But learn the basics and then go, right, I understand that the on-tick function does this. I understand that the on-init function does this. So when it starts up, if I want it to do something, I stick it in the on-init. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know all the different things you can do on initialization of an EA, because you only need to know what you need to know. So you learn that bit. AI is a brilliant help with all this sort of stuff, because AI will do some coding for you as well. But AI is as good as you are at commanding AI, if you see what I mean. So if you don't know anything about logic, how logic works, and you can't communicate in a technical perspective what you want or need, it won't be able to do anything for you. So it's like me saying, go and buy me a car. You'll go off and buy me a BMW 2 Series in orange. No, I want a black BMW 3 Series. And you'll go, well, you didn't say that. Unless you communicate properly what you want, you won't get what you want. This is the thing. It will do what it thinks you want. So you've got to be really good at asking those sorts of questions to AI. And I've used AI for quite a bit of coding recently. But I find it, and this is the other sort of thing about coding, there's a million ways to do the same thing. It's like if I ask you to write a book about trading, I'd get 5 or 10 different books back from 5 or 10 different people. No one would write the same book. If I ask you to write me an EA to do a certain thing, I'll get 10 different EAs back, because there's different ways to achieve exactly the same thing. AI will give you a version, or maybe 2 or 3 versions. Unless you know which one suits the rest of your code correctly, you'll end up with something that isn't optimized and it has holes in it that will break. So you've got to get a good understanding of the basics. And something like that, probably is absolutely fine, you know. So 1,400 people have done it and they've got a 4.5-star rating. There you go. Storing data in variables, data types, operators. Yes, you need to enter all the operations and offer the operators, conditions, loops. Exactly what I just said. Look, loops, functions, all the basics. And more. That's going to take you kind of 20 hours. It's the same as anything, isn't it? Learning something new, you're as good as your understanding of it. You don't know if you're actually going to be a good coder until you start doing it. If you suddenly get into video number 3 and you're like, I don't get it, it's not going to happen, is it? But if you've got a good understanding of Pascal and C, then your C++ is very similar to C. Right. Udemy is a great site. Use it for professional training, yeah. I remember doing machine code for my Commodore 64. Yeah. C64, Amiga 1200, ZX Spectrum, ZX81. My first computer, ZX81. My mum had an Apple IIe, which I used to play green screen on. That bad boy. That was my first computer. Oh, wow, that brings back memory. 5.25-inch floppies. Twin. That was expensive. That was my first. Look at Zigzag. I used to play Zigzag. Oh, my God. Wow. Yeah, so that was my first computer. Look at that printer. I had one of those. That's an Apple III. Ooh. Wow. Look at what a computer was. Wow. God, I used to play that as well. Can't remember what that was called. Anyway, look, Donkey Kong in green screen. Oh, those were the days. Good grief, I like it when you mention logic. Chucky Egg, yeah, and the BBC, yeah, and school days. I recently got a emulator for my PC. I got a couple of emulators. I got an Amiga 1200 emulator, and I played School Days the other day. It was the very first game where you could actually change the direction of the game. So every time you played it, you could play it differently because you could make decisions. It wasn't linear. So if you decided to go and hide under a desk for an entire lesson and not get caught, the outcomes after that were different than if you hadn't done it. It was one of the very first games where there was decision trees. Didn't know that. School Days. Well, that's why it was so popular, because you could play it over and over and over and over again. And every time you played it, you felt like you were playing a new game. Obviously, there was about 30 minutes worth of playability in it, but that's it. Elite, yeah. Elite. I played Elite as that was amazing. Elite, cutting edge at the time, but I play Elite Dangerous now. Elite PC. No, Elite Game. There we go. That's Elite. Oh, look at that. Cutting edge. Vector graphics. Unbelievable. Remember the adventure games as well? You wake up, you find yourself in a dark room. There is a corridor ahead. There are 2 doors. Will you go left or right? Left. You have died. You wake up in a dark corridor. That was it. And you basically went through and you had to try and remember what you'd done before because there was only one path. Oh, the games we had. RPGs, yeah. Doom. You couldn't look up. Doom, you could only walk around on one level. If there was something up there, you had to go and climb some stairs up so you could get on the level to shoot it. Unbelievable. I learnt programming in school with punch cards. Really? Wow. Prince of Persia, that was a good one. Prince of Persia, I used to love that. There he is, look. That was awesome. Prince of Persia. What else did I love playing? Oh, Joust. That was amazing. I spent hours playing Joust. You sat on the back of an ostrich, and basically you've got to fly around and knock other people off their ostriches. Well, not people, because it was all AI. Stupid AI. It used to just bounce off of stuff, and you used to make sure, as long as you're above everything, you just immediately knock them off. Used to play that a lot as well. And what was the other game? Speedball. I spent years doing this. Means something else, obviously, now, but Speedball on the Amiga. That was amazing. Speedball 2, Brutal Deluxe. Look at that. You could upgrade your people as well. It's the first game where you could actually progress your team, and it saved it to a floppy disk. Saved it. So instead of every time you load a game, you start again, you could save your progress. Unbelievable. God, I'm old. Yeah, there you go. Look, you used to update him. Attack, defense, speed, power. You used to be able to spend credits when you won games. It's amazing. You know. Wow, blast from the past. I want to play that again now. It'll be absolutely terrible. If you played something like that now, you would think, how did I survive? This is what I spent my evenings doing. I used to come home from school, watch whatever was on TV until Newsround came on, because the Newsround was basically the end of it. Then it went to the serious teenage programs. Not interested in that. So then I used to boot up the computer, and that was the evening. Either that, or if I hadn't got a new game, I would go out and throw mud balls at buses and stuff like that, because that's what we did in those days. Remember Pinball Maker? Yeah. Dailies Decathlon. That was Decathlon, wasn't it? All you have to do is hit two buttons as fast as you possibly can and try and win a race. And then every now and again, if it was javelin or something, you hit the space bar. No. Oh, that's going to give me just Daley Thompson, isn't it? There we go. Decathlon. Look at that. There you go. So, oh, that's an advanced version. That's the original look. Ocean software. So basically you had two buttons to press, one for your left foot, one for your right foot. And the game was, as soon as it went, you do that as fast as you can for 100 meters and you still lose. But if it was hurdles, you had to press the space bar. But there were literally 3 pixels where if you got it in those 3 pixels, it would go over. If you didn't, you'd hit the thing. It was one of the most frustrating games in the world. So that must be... Yeah, they've basically updated it, haven't they? Good old Daley Thompson. Oh, yeah, and long jump. Remember the noise it made? Boo! Sound effects. We only had 8-bit, so wasn't a lot of notes we could play. Samurai Jack, I remember that as well, yeah. Manic Miner, that was the most amazing game in the world. And what was the other one? Jet Set Willy. At Manic Miner. Brilliant game. Went on forever. Frustrating as hell because it was so difficult. The Warehouse. Look at that. That's proper 8-bit, that is. ZX Spectrum. My mate, one of my mates, Carl, had his parents were quite well off. He had the very first ZX Spectrum I played, and that's what got me into coding. Because when I played on his ZX Spectrum, he showed me the games, but when it booted up, it just went C. I was like, what do you do here? Well, you can do all sorts of things. And that led me into coding, ZX Spectrum, because that was the first thing you could actually create your own programs, basically, on it. So you started... you start with the 10, go to 20 stuff, and then it goes from there. But that was all basic. Languages now are incredibly complex compared to that, obviously. Flight Simulator 1. Yeah, God, can't remember that. My mate was into that. He had joysticks and all sorts of stuff. It's basically the same as Elite, isn't it? But that's why I went Elite, because Elite was in space and this was Elite not in space. Obviously, being in space is better. Look at that. That's the ground. That's a mountain. Oh my God. You can't even tell what's going on there. It's that bad. Airspeed and altimeter. That's it. Altimeter, whichever one you want to call it. There's the evolution. Look, that's what Flight Sim. I've got the latest MS Flight Sim, and I've got a Valve Index VR headset. Playing the latest Microsoft Flight Sim with VR headset on is unbelievable. It's like you feel airsick. It's so realistic. It's absolutely phenomenal. My son, I think it was last holidays, he basically flew from here to Spain in real time in a small light aircraft. And it was brilliant because he was, every time I went in there, it was like, look down there, whatever country now. It's amazing. Yeah, anyway, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I won't go into raving. I spent most of my term at Stearns raving, but I won't go into that part. Anyway, let's see what's going on with the indices. So nothing. It's dead again today. Another losing day. Can't do anything with this at the moment. It's going to be a losing week. I can tell you that much. Unless the US indices explode today. But I've said we're probably not going to get any trades on the US this afternoon because we're going to move in non-farm. So DAX is really my only hope today. If the DAX does break long today, profit will wipe out this loss today, but still chasing that, unfortunately. Day before was about 1,300 profit, but that was again chasing a $600 loss from the day before. So it's a down week this week. But you know, you have to sit through these. There's nothing you can do about it. If the market is not going to move, breakout strategies are not going to work. So you get these weeks where, and they show in back testing, if you do any back testing, you get these weeks where it just goes wrong. There's nothing you can do with it. It's not going wrong, it's just not right conditions. So we'll sit through and get on with it. I flew glider program every day at my desk. Yeah. The other game I used to play, which is weird, I'm sorry, I'm going off on a waffle tangent now, was that pool game. 3D pool. This was so advanced on the Amiga. It was proper 3D. Look at that. Look at the table. Look at the detail. And there was a table tennis game I used to play in space as well. That was weird. I can't remember what that was called. But look at that. Oh, that's for DOS. DOS as well. Yeah, when we were programming, you program BASIC, but I was before Windows. So my first operating system, apart from the Apple IIe's OS, which I can't remember what it was, but my first operating system was actually DOS. We didn't have Windows. Before GUIs were invented, before Gates came up with graphical user interfaces for computers, we did everything in code. So this is why everybody learned to code back then, because if you wanted to operate a computer, you couldn't. There was no such thing as a mouse. We didn't have mouses. Mice. It was DOS. Disk operating system. And all it did was operate the disks because there was no hard drives. Didn't have hard drives. 5 1/4 and 3.5 inch floppies was it. If you wanted something saved, it went on a floppy disk. There wasn't a hard drive. It didn't exist. How weird is that? I've got more storage and power in this thing, my phone, than pretty much anything up until 90s. Crazy, isn't it? RS machines at school, 3D pool and darts, yeah. Defender, yeah, love it. Defender. My God. Defender, basically, my mum used to work in, she was an accountant, and she used to do bookkeeping for pubs. And on a Saturday, she used to go around a couple of pubs locally and do the books for them. So I got dragged to the pubs, and obviously the pubs in those days were shut in the day, so there was no one in there. And they opened up at 3 o'clock, or well, no, they opened it from 11 till 3 or something, and they shut again. So we went in when the pubs were shut. And the two pubs that she went to, happily, both had Defender machines, the arcade machines. And the guys that ran the pubs basically used to just basically unlock the door for me, so I could flick the little switch on the back of the door where the money went in and just rock up credits on it. So I used to stand in pubs when I was probably, I don't know, 11, 12, playing Defender. That was my weekends, playing Defender. Amazing. I got really, really good at it. DOS Blackjack, yeah. Do you remember strip poker? That was revolutionary. Strip poker came out. Do I think, yeah, so talking about trading, do you think Euro US dollar has now shifted bearish? Probably. Don't know. It's not. Depends which time frame you're looking at, doesn't it? So if you're looking at a daily time frame, it's had a reversal alert. So in theory, yes. Yeah. So it's kind of a weird head and shoulders pattern. But we need to break that neckline. So at the moment, we've had a reversal alert and a retest. So there's your M pattern reversal on the daily. But, you know, we're coming back into moving average territory for the 24, which means that this is potentially where banks and institutions who are against the dollar will be buying up again. So it has definitely shifted bearish yesterday. We broke last week's low, but we haven't broken the previous week's low. In fact, it double bottomed to the pip look. If you're looking on a 5-minute time frame, you've had a reverse alert short. Yeah. 15? Yeah. 30? No. Just had a bullish reversal alert on the 30. So bear down into bull. You know, whether something is bullish or bearish is perspective. Bullish on the hourly. 4 hourly, I'd say it's range bound. You know, it depends what you're looking at. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I have no idea who Carmen Sandiego is. Was that someone? Carmen is in Puerto Rico now eating crabs and beer. I don't know who Carmen Sandiego is. Is that one of the ladies from strip poker from the 80s? I'd imagine she's probably an old people's home. If they were even real. I don't think they were. I don't know. Does it take a long time to code a bot or an indicator? That depends on your coding skills. That's a piece of string. So if you've never coded in your life, yes. If you've coded for years and years and years, no. How complex is the EA and how complex is the indicator? So I've got some EAs which are over 40,000 lines of code. I've got some EAs which are around about 3,000 to 5,000 lines of code. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out the one that's 40,000 lines of code took a hell of a lot longer to code, because the more lines of code you got, the more testing you have to do, the more testing you have to do, the more bugs you find, the more bugs you find, the more bugs you've got to fix. So it's impossible to say. It's a piece of string. But I can code pretty much anything. How long it takes depends how complex it is. Carmen is a video game. I'm not going to look it up. A DOS game in 1989. I'm not going to look it up. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me to look up something that's going to get me kicked off of YouTube. You guys go and Google it. Someone said to me the other day that if I know who the original A-Team, if I know who the original A-Team on TV was, then I must be close to retirement age. Yeah, right. I'm going to tell you something now which freaked me out this week. I'm in the process of buying a new house at the moment. Okay, and we went into it's a new build property basically. So we went in to see the builder. You have this thing called Meet the Builder, and we sat down there and we were chatting away, you know, just talking normally. And for the first time in my life, he said to me, "Have you got grandkids?" And I was like, grandkids? No, I've got teenage sons, not grandkids. So he thought I was old enough to have grandchildren. And that is the first time in my life that has happened. And I sat there and went, no. And then I suddenly realized I am 52. So technically, yeah, it's a legitimate question. But it's the first time in my life I've ever been asked if I had grandkids. And I sat there and I looked at my wife and I was like, oh, we've got old. I've never been asked that before. I've got 2 teenage kids, and I just assume everybody thinks if you've got teenage kids, of course you haven't got grandchildren, because they're not old enough to have kids yet. Well, I mean, biologically maybe, but, you know. But yeah, very weird that was. So yeah, I get that, and I do know who the original 18 members are, yes. So I am obviously close to retirement. It's bad, isn't it? James, that's impressive. I'm new here. Your professional opinion. What's the most reliable way to highly risk your way from $500 to $2,000? Take high probability trades, and not many of them with high risk. He must have started early, typical of some builders. He was young. He was only in his late 20s. That's the reason. That's the thing. I think that's why he gave me that question, because he was in his 20s. I started with kids late, right? But some of my friends from school, I got one friend in particular who I don't see anymore. He's moved down to Devon, but he got one friend in particular who had kids when he was 20, right? So he's now 52, same age as me, 51. So his kids will be in their 30s now. Yeah. So he is the same age as me and probably has got grandkids, because he had kids at 20, whereas I didn't have kids at 20. I was in my 30s when I had kids. So it's a totally different thing, isn't it? But it's the first time I've been like, what? Really? Anyway. But yeah, so if you want to turn 5K into $2,000, obviously first thing I would say, James, is you're gambling. It's not going to be something you can do consistently. So if whatever reason you're doing it, it's gambling. So it's exactly the same as going into a casino. Yeah. So if you want to turn 5K into 500 quid into 2,000, you can either do one or two things. You can go into a casino and go on red or black and double up your risk every time you lose. You'll get to that at some point probably, but at some point the house edge will kick in and you'll lose it all. In trading, it's exactly the same. So go down onto something like an M5 time frame. Use something like an RSI. When the RSI gets extended, wait for a reverse alert. Put something like 5 to 10% risk on a trade, and that will give you something around about 20 to 30% increase on your account if it works out. The best thing to do is wait for very, very high extensions. So wait for something like, I'll see it. Wait for a strong downside extension below the 20 level. Yeah. And take a reversal alert down there, maybe even on the 1 minute time frame, 5 to 10% risk, off you go. So target something between 3 to 5R with 5 to 10% risk. Yeah. But use high probability trades. Yeah. Stuff that works. It's not going to work every time, but it's going to work maybe 70, 80% of the time. But going with super high risk, you will get a point where you'll take a losing run of 3 to 5 trades, which will wipe out 50% of your account. You'll get crossed, you'll over leverage, and you'll blow it. That's not trading, that's gambling. The short answer is, if you want to turn 500 into 2,000 safely, look at 6 to 12 months minimum. So most professional traders, professional traders, people that trade for money for a profession, will return somewhere in the region of 5 to 15% a month consistently. So if you've got 500, yeah, and let's say you return 10% a month, you're going to turn that 500 into 1,000 in roughly a year. And then you'll be able to turn that 1,000 into 2,000 in roughly 2 years. So it would take you 2 years consistently and safely. But, you know, like I say, if you want to do that, go to a casino. It's much more fun. go red black in a casino, or go and play blackjack and use martingale. Yeah, I've done it many times. Many times I've gone into a casino and used martingale to double my money. Very easy. You could do it in here as well. So look at a 1 minute chart and take basically, yes, there you go. That's a great example. So use a trend on a 1 minute chart and take every reversal alert you see in direction with the trend, and use something like a 2.5%, 5% risk, something like that, and just martingale it. Yeah, because you will get your money back every day, and you will probably double it very, very quickly. But understand the odds of losing it are never more than 5 to 7 losing trades in a row away. If you get 5 to 7 losing trades in a row, you will blow your account. So use something with super, super, super high probability. Yeah, it's really extended conditions. Yeah, and you might not get a trade every day. Trade totally uncorrelated instruments. Yeah, so stuff that is going to look completely different every time you open a chart. It looks nothing like the previous chart. Yeah, look at that. Great example. There's your risk, 45. You're 155 up, 3R. And that has taken 1.25 hours. Do that. Just use the reversal alert indicator on low time frame. Support resistance. I don't know. It's basically the ways of doing what you want are unlimited, but it's gambling, totally gambling, which is fine. I love it. I've done it many times. I've had lots of systems and strategies which will, create very high probability trades. There's a great example. Look. So let's say using RSI 80-20. Right, so you had one trade there yesterday, which you would have got in here, which didn't work out. So you took a loss. And then somewhere in here, you would have got a reversal alert, which would have lost. By the time it got down to here, you had divergence, so there was no signal. So you had 2 losses there in a row. Yeah, absolutely right. Conditions are right. Signal was right. Fail. Conditions are right. Signal is right. Fail. Then it popped up, but there was no condition to trade. There you had one. Beautiful. Worked out. You probably would have got somewhere in the region of 3 to 4R maximum. Whether or not you would have taken it, I don't know. But because you had a 2R loss there, you probably would have taken a 3R there, somewhere about there. Because you would have been chasing yesterday's loss. You would have made it back. So let's say you risked 5% there, 10% there. You're risking 15% there. Yeah, that 15% times 3 returns you 45%. You've lost 15% there. So happy days, you're up a fortune. Great, it worked out that instance. If that one would have failed, you'll have lost 30% of your account on 3 trades. The equivalent of risking 10% a trade. There isn't a trader on the planet that risks more than 0.5% trade realistically and makes money. Yeah, that's unbelievably high risk, but it will work. This is what prop is for, this type of strategy. Yeah. So you haven't had a signal yet today, I don't think, or a condition today yet. If this continues to push down, yeah, use the RSI dash. So get the RSI dashboard here. And just set it up on 1 minute chart. RSI 21 is probably the best. 80-20. Yeah, and just wait for that to signal. As soon as that signals, monitor the chart. Wait for a reversal alert to kick in. As soon as you get that reversal alert, which tells you the bears are in control or the bulls are in control, take a trade. Stop below the low. Give it a little bit of wiggle room in case it W pattern double bottoms. And off you go. 2x your risk every time. Happy days. Just hope you don't get a loss of 5 to 7 in a row. And don't overtrade. Pick 4 to 6 uncorrelated instruments and be patient. So don't trade the whole list. Just pick a short amount. maybe stick a commodity in there. I mean, commodities squeeze a lot, so probably commodities, I don't know. That's a 20-30R return. That's a nice one. You probably wouldn't have got a signal on that. Might have done. Would have been a loss. You had one this morning here. That would have been a loss. I don't know. We don't do gambling in here. Well, I don't anyway. I do, but not in here. Yeah, this is just for fun. Yeah. Good for prop. But prop, a lot of prop firms have cottoned onto this and they don't let you do it anymore because obviously it works short term. So it's a way to, martingale, they won't let you do martingale. So if they identify a martingale pattern forming on your trading, even if you pass a valuation, they'll kick you out of the funded, or it'll be against their terms and conditions somewhere in the 1,000 pages you've written and signed that says you're not allowed to use martingale strategies. But on your own accounts, brilliant. There's a guy that I don't like that teaches crap, but he does a similar thing, and he sells a course for $1,000 on compounding, and that is a compounding strategy. So what a lot of people struggle with when they start trading is getting together capital. So one of the ways to get capital is to compound an account, which means you basically put the money in there and you use it to just grow it. You never withdraw it, and you grow it to a certain point where you can then go, okay, I've got to where I want to be, and I will drop the risk down and start trading sensibly and properly. The problem with compounding is when you get to that point, you're like, I've just proven to myself for the last X days, weeks, or months that I can compound an account and quadruple it. So you are now a compounder, and you won't be able to get out of that ability to double and treble accounts quickly. And then you'll blow that account and you'll go, that's what went wrong. I'll tweak that and I won't do that next time. That thing that happened was random. It will happen again, but it won't be in the same form. So something else will trip you up next time. Something else will trip you up. You will then system hop to other strategies which you think have got a better rate, and you end up in this spiral of wanting to make quick bucks. This is not quick bucks. If it was quick bucks, everybody'd be a billionaire. We're not billionaires. We're making an eager living, a meager living, if you like, squeezing money out the market. I looked at what I earned last year, and there are jobs out there I could walk into pretty much today and earn the same amount of money with no stress. But also no freedom. So this is something you do. You don't necessarily earn an absolute fortune doing it, but you have freedom. I can turn the stream off now and decide I'm not going to stream all next week and walk away from the charts and do something else. But I can still make money because I've got automation doing it for me. So that's the freedom that you buy. But you don't. People assume that everybody that trades makes a fortune. You don't make a fortune. You make money. You can't make a fortune doing this. You can make a fortune doing this, but money makes money. You need money. If you haven't got the money, you can't make the money. Because to trade with risk high enough to generate high return, i.e., if you want to make $1,000 a day, you're going to need $100,000 account to do that, because you're going to be risking 1% or 0.5% or 0.25% on each trade. So you're going to need 100 grand to make that grand. If you haven't got 100 grand and you've only got a grand, you're only going to make $10 a day. It's all relative. So you can prove to yourself that you can make $10 a day for a year, but unless you've got access to 100 grand, you're never going to make any more than that. You need capital. It's a business. Businesses need capital. This is a high risk business because it's completely volatile. You are not in control of your business. The market pays you. You don't extract money from the market. Yeah, you do extract money from the market, but if you press the buy button here and this thing goes down, this was what made your loss, not you. Yeah, the market decided it was going to continue in this direction. It had a 50-50 probability of continuing in that direction. When you run any other business, you choose to buy stock. You place stocks on the shelf. You have many variables: marketing, footfall, pricing structure, stock levels, what you place around it product-wise to draw attraction to it. There's 1,000 things you can do to change your business to make it better or worse performing. With this, you have one thing. You can press a buy button or a sell button. It's a 50-50 game. Probabilities are always the same when you press that button or that button. It will either go up or down. The distance it goes up and down by is the variable that makes you money. You can't control that. So it's a business you can't control, which makes it more risky, which makes it more stressful. Go and open a shop. It's much easier. Yeah, you'll earn roughly the same amount of money, potentially, unless you've got an absolute fortune in the bank, in which case, yes, you can make a load of money. Well, not a fortune, but enough money. But that's what trading is, isn't it? It's a percentage game that we play to try and make our percentages return more percentages than we put in. Same as the S&P 500. S&P 500, if you'd have put any kind of money into it in January every year, it will return to you on average 8% a year. So if you're happy to make 8% a year on 100 grand, yeah, which is 8K, go and buy the S&P. Buy stocks in the S&P and you'll make eight grand a year. If you've got 500 grand, you're going to make 40 grand a year. Just buying the S&P. But if you bought every down dip on the RSI on the S&P, you'd return roughly 40% a year. You'd make 200 grand trading, because you can adjust your level of investment and risk. But the S&P will still do the same thing. It will go up by 8% a year on average. But if you buy it twice, you make 16. If you buy it 3 times, you make whatever, 24, and so on and so forth. This is what you need to understand. Everybody needs to understand about trading. It literally is a zero-sum game at the end of the day. So unless you invest in or buy something that is continuously going up or continuously going down, you can't make money out of it, because most of the time the market spends its range bound returning to previous price points. So you have to hold and you have to exit at a certain point. And that's the key, is knowing when to enter and knowing when to exit. Those are both random. And what drives it up or down from the entry point is random, because it's fundamentals, bank and institutional money flow, and it's not controllable. It's all random. So, you know, whether this goes up or down today, whether I make money today or not, has got nothing to do with me. I have a strategy that has a long-term edge. The edge only plays out if there is momentum on the instrument that I trade. At the moment, there isn't momentum, so it's not making money. There's nothing wrong with the strategy. There's nothing wrong with the way the orders were executed. Literally, I am in the hands of bank and institutional buying of German stocks. I have no control. I control my risk. That is what I'm willing to risk. My return will be 3 to 5 times my risk. All I got. You're a risk manager. There is nothing else you can do in this game. So if you want to double your account, you have to risk more. If you risk more, you will lose more. The more you lose, the more psychologically you go tilt. The more you risk, the more you blow. So starting off with tiny risk and just accepting the fact that it's going to take ages is the only way you make money long term. But because everybody on YouTube has got a Ferrari behind them, gold teeth, gold chains, and is showing you P&Ls with tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands in it, you assume that everybody can make money really easily doing it. 14 out of 40,000 people in prop have made payments over 50 grand in one of the prop firms. 14. Yeah. Do you think you're elite enough to be in that 14 out of 4,000 odd traders? No, I'm not. Yeah. Luck. A lot of it's luck. If I press the buy button now with 10% risk and the next candlestick is bullish and I move my stop to break even and then it just goes bull for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to make a fortune. Is it anything to do with skill? No. Completely down to the luck of movement and timing on this instrument at this point in time. And even the market doesn't know where this is going in the next candlestick, because there's buyers and sellers in different groups all combating each other and trying to force the price up and down. They don't know where it's going because they haven't got enough control. There's 10 banks and institutions that have enough power to move this thing on a daily basis. If they all disagree with each other, it ain't going anywhere. If they all agree it's got to go up, it will go parabolic. But they don't know what all the others are doing because that's insider trading. They're not allowed to do it. So it's got to be random movement. All of this at the moment we're seeing here is indecision, equilibrium, because there's no reason for anybody to do anything different. So they just keep buying and selling each other's stock at the same price. Someone at some point will put a large order in and it will pop, and then everyone will go, right, that's where we're going. And then everybody will start to sell and it will increase its speed and you get into a trend. But until that happens, you are just going to get killed. But you can't control this, and you didn't know it was going to happen. So you will just hemorrhage money. If I knew this was going to happen today, I wouldn't have gone short. I haven't got a crystal ball. That's trading. Fun, isn't it? Most difficult job on the planet. But if you're the type of person that is a programmer and a problem solver, this is what you want to do, isn't it? Because it keeps your mind active, which we need when we get older, when we get reminded we might have grandkids. Anyway, I'll be back this afternoon at 1:30. Okay, so 1:30 this afternoon, not 2:30, just for this afternoon because it's non-farm payroll. So we'll be on for trading that. Really nothing happening this morning as there's no news or anything. So yeah, I'll see you back at 1:30. We'll do the non-farm employment. We'll just watch it basically and see where everything's going. And if it's a big move, then I probably won't trade the indices, because if we put a big move in the stock index on the back of that, we're probably not going to have any volume left today. So I'll wait until next week. All right, so have a good day. I will get the EA license coding done this morning. God, it's 10 o'clock. Get the manual rewritten, the inputs rewritten, and then get the video published. And I'll get the version 3.1 rolled out of the EA so you can go and have a play with it, download it, have a play with it. Obviously, then if you've got a license, you can use it as well. So, all right, have a good day. Anything you need, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you this afternoon. Have a good one.